That's right.
Come on, I mean.
No, I don't think they are. I don't think they are at all. Dude, you go on social media. I watch the shit for you, and people hate you. They fucking hate you. Every word is fucking over. Screw out.
I like this stuff.
He's a stalker.
Kwame, you there?
Here, we're all set.
All right, thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone.
I think that's. Yeah, because ours is showing, that's his.
Okay.
I think we just gotta change it.
So is it not?
No, we're good to go, it's just we're a little live.
Rennie, Rennie, I'm downstairs, so when I'm needed, I'll come up,
All right.
okay?
Yes, thanks, Dave. All right. 6:33, calling this meeting of the Finance Committee to order. As usual, our first item is the comptroller's report.
Thanks, Rennie. Passing out the sales tax report and the narrative. We did receive 2 sales tax payments yesterday, so I've updated those totals. As of right now, we're just about a dead heat from where we were last year at this time. Our collections are just over $29,000 down from where we were last year, which is like the 0.37% variance. So we're pretty much even with where we were last year. We are on pace with budget. We budgeted sales tax relatively conservatively. So at this point, I think we're in good shape with the budget. Obviously, those numbers can change throughout the year, but we are in line with the budgeted numbers right now. In terms of the expenses I've been reporting to you, the expenses are running high. Last couple months, I've given you comparisons to where we're at the prior year. We improved a little bit in this report this month. We're at 37.3% spend through May this year. This time last year, we're 35.3%. So we're off about 2% on the expenses from where we're at last year. I think in the last report, we're closer to 3% off. But I will say the revenues are definitely not where they were last year. So if you recall, finished last year with a surplus. This year, the expenses are running a little bit higher. Revenues are definitely tracking closer to budget than they were last year. If you recall, sales tax was way over budget, right? That's not the case this year. Sales tax running closer to budget. And if you also recall, last month we approved the use of some fund balance to pay down some debt that's maturing next month. So we'll be doing that. The other highlight really is contingency balance remains at 604,772. That's the number you have to work with through the end of the year. We have a couple of requests, I believe, for contingency tonight that'll draw from that. I haven't reduced the numbers for any of those. If you have any questions, give me a call, email me.
Is the unassigned fund balance already down from what we passed last month?
No, the fund balance is essentially measured once a year,
Okay.
right? So that's like where we were at the end of 2022, when I reported to the state on May 1st. I will provide, as you can see right there, it says unaudited. Once the audit's complete, I'll update that figure for whatever changes there might be with the audit. Typically, there hasn't been a lot of change, but sometimes there's some minor changes. But it's really won't know until they're done, and that's in September.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
And the service contracts, those are higher than where we are in the year. Any particular reason for that?
The service contracts, I think what you're seeing is you're seeing the inflationary spend that we're seeing everywhere else. Repairs is a big part of that. If you want me to pull up, I can pull up some departments that they did, or I can email you separately if you want a little more detail.
Yeah, you would just email me separately.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I'm just curious if there's anything we can do in terms of next year's budget.
Sure.
Since that will be coming up here.
So,
Okay, any other questions, comments regarding the state of our current finances? All right.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Thank you, John. Next item on the agenda is an update on the Van Dyke Apartments. And Benjamin Lachey, the executive director, here with us, as well as a couple of representatives from Mountco. Hello, Benjamin. If you all want to join us here at the table, that's fine. I think there's enough chairs.
Okay, thank you.
May need to bring one up. So we have also you and John. Yeah, just if you would not sit at the end of the table, just pull the chairs up, because we want people who are watching on TV, on video here, people around the world. We want them to be able to hear you. So first, congratulations on the name change. I don't know if everybody's aware, but this is formerly known as Stuyvesant Apartments. And PHA changed the name from the Stuyvesant because of the association with slavery and anti-Semitism, and renamed the apartments after Leonard and Vera Van Dyke, two of the real important folks here in town in terms of civil rights. And Leonard Van Dyke was the first Black member of the Kingston Common Council in the 1960s. So congratulations on that. All right, so what's going on over there?
So, good evening, everybody, and thank you for inviting us. I would like to just give a brief update about the Leonard and Vera Van Dyke Apartments. We had the name change ceremony in late June. We had, not counting staff and speakers, we had about 120 participants. Mayor spoke, as did the regional director for HUD. We had representatives from Housing and Community Renewal from the state and from the Housing Finance Agency, but the state or the organization essentially that is funding the project. I have with me here this evening John Matteo from and Newton. They are our partners from Monco Construction and Development. And I'm happy to report that the construction, the preservation project is well underway. I would say overall, 40% of the construction is complete. Now, only 24 units have been completed, with residents moving back into their units. And you can see, I think, I haven't had a look at these, but maybe some of these photographs indicate the depth of the renovation that is taking place. We've had to remove the sheetrock because of asbestos, and the asbestos and the mold turned out to be more significant than we had anticipated. But we're moving ahead with roofing and windows, doors, with new tubs, with new vanities, new kitchen cabinets, hardwood kitchen cabinets, new flooring. Our goal has been to get to a standard that will preserve the units for the next 25 years. We have a lot of eyes on the project, from the state to the investors. KHA has retained our own architect, who is the KHA representative, the eyes on Mike Lockwood. He's a local architect, and we're very pleased with the level of professionalism that has been brought to this significant preservation project. So all of the residents are happy. We've had to inconvenience them. Initially, we had planned on doing renovation in place, but the extent of the asbestos was much more significant, and we were not able to do renovation in place. So we relocated residents to apartments for, I think, the 6 weeks that it takes to rehab the units. The KHA and its partner have paid for the packing up for every resident. You know, we have Always Moving come in, provide boxes, help residents pack and move them to their new apartment, and then pay for the relocation back into their original unit, or if they wanted to stay in a rehab unit, they have that option. So there's a lot of detail. I know the mayor is wanting to get to his presentation, so I'm gonna just ask if there's any questions and then hand it over to our partner, John Maddy.
Where are you with on your timeline? Obviously, there was more than you expected, so I'm assuming we're delayed, but,
We had informed the residents that our projection was late summer of '24, but we're actually at a point where we're anticipating that we may even finish a little earlier than that. So we're moving right along.
great. Maybe go to John.
John?
Thanks. Yeah, and I just want to reiterate what Benjamin said, that the residents have been really terrific to work with. And I think you guys know that we set up a resident advisory committee almost 2 years ago now. So we've been able to keep everybody informed of what's going on. And I think that that's really helped so that the residents understand what was happening. When we had to go back to them and tell them, we're not doing resident in place, we have to move you, and explain to them why we had to do it. They understood and they supported that decision. I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes. Van Dyke is the first phase, what the Housing Authority wants to do to renovate its entire portfolio. The second phase that we're talking about is working with the Housing Authority to do Rondout Gardens. And I don't know where you want this, Rennie, but this is a quick update. Rondout Gardens, you know where the Housing Authority's offices are here. This is Rondout Gardens. There's around 19 buildings, 131 units at this site. Rondout Gardens presents the opportunity to not only renovate the units that are there, but to provide some additional affordable housing units. So right now, we're in very preliminary planning stages, but what we're proposing is to take down 3 existing buildings, because most of the units in those buildings are efficiency apartments, and they're really dysfunctional. They're very small units, they're like 400 square feet. So what we want to do is take down the buildings that have most of the efficiency units and put up a single building, a 4-story building here. So we wind up increasing the number of units on the site from about 130 units to about 185, 186 units. That's a proposal. We've had some preliminary discussions with the planning department about that to see how that's going to fit in with the new code. And we think it's going to fit in nicely. We've had some preliminary discussions with the state, and we're waiting for a response. The state would love to see more affordable housing wherever they can get it in the state. But we don't know if this type of proposal is going to be acceptable to them. And if it's not, then our fallback position is, okay, we'll renovate everything that's there the same way we renovated what was at Van Dyke. In terms of timing on this, We anticipate, as Benjamin said, that we'll be done with Van Dyke sometime next summer. If we get a green light from the state to move ahead with the project, that's about when we could begin the renovation of this project to get all the financing in place with the state. So within the next month or two, we'll be getting some feedback from the state. If it looks like the state will support the project, then we'll come before the city for some more formal approvals. We'll have to go before the planning board. We will likely come back before the Finance and Audit Committee to talk to you about a pilot. The state was very insistent on Van Dyke that a pilot be provided because of all the money the state's putting in. It's likely they'll ask for the same thing here. Again, this property is paying very little property taxes now. Under any pilot that we would think about, you'd wind up getting a lot more in the pilot than you're getting now. So that's where we are. We just wanted to give you a heads up on that. And you probably will be hearing back from us in a couple of months once we get some feedback from the state. There are some issues. I would just mention the current situation out there is where the parking, which is located along here, is actually outside of the property line of the property. It's in the right of way for the road. The new code is going to have some impact on that as to whether or not that would be permissible or not. But there's going to be some sort of discussion with the city in terms of the right of way, or whether there could be an easement or a land sale. But we need to see what the code is going to direct us to and what the planning department is going to talk about. And then we'll come back to you and talk to you about that as well. So I'll stop there and ask.
If I can just add that the proposed demolition of the 2024 units, as John said, they're all very small and they're not ADA compliant units and they're really not suitable for the time that we live in. So that's why, and also if I were doing Rondout before the other sites, is because if we can do Rondout and we get this new development, not the preservation, but the new development, then we can have options for relocating residents from Wildwick and from Colonial Gardens Addition when we redevelop them.
And yeah, no, thank you, Benjamin. The last thing I would say is, just to give you an idea, we're not looking to replace the efficiency apartments with 3 and 4 bedroom units. We're looking to replace them with 1 bedroom units. It's not going to have, in our judgment, a significant impact on change and impact on traffic or a school population or anything like that. It's not going to be increasing the numbers significantly, but it would increase providing some additional affordable housing. And it would certainly make those dysfunctional units and get rid of them and use good units for the people that live out there.
Questions?
So I guess my first question is just to back up a bit from even before you get to the building. I understand that everybody's been moving over to the vouchers. And I had brought this up with the mayor the other day that I was concerned about people that may not qualify for a voucher if they are over income. And so I wanted to see how that is being handled.
So there are 5 households for different reasons that do not qualify. And I believe that 3 of them are over income. That means, we cannot find them income eligible because their household, they earn too much. I think at one time they may not have, but they may have in the household, they may have 3 residents that have an income that's above the eligibility range. So for those individuals, will have to pay fair market rent. Fair market rent on average is about 20% less than market rent. So fair market rent is different for different size units. So, but yes, we've attempted to find everybody eligible, but because some, three households, I believe, two households have refused to fill in, eligibility. I'm not sure what the reasons were for those two households. And we pleaded with them, this is a good deal for you, take this deal and you'll not pay more than a third of your income, whatever that is. And I'm not sure why they're not responding, but they also, if they don't comply with the request to, find an income eligible to receive a voucher, and we'd love to give them one, then they will also have to pay fair market rent.
Can I ask you? Yeah, so the buildings that you're speaking about pulling down,
Yes.
so those are for seniors or people, I guess there's no people, it's just, but my understanding is that the buildings, when you're facing administration to the right, that's seniors
That's
and
senior.
people with
Yeah.
disabilities.
Yeah.
So how long would it be that they have to be moved?
So it's likely that before we get there, that there will be attrition. Every complex loses percentage. Seniors, it's about 8% of people pass on every year. Or move to a nursing home. So there's going to be some attrition, and we can internally transfer some people, but we are obliged by state law to find comparable or better housing for everybody. And all of those residents will have the option to move back into the new building, which will be newly minted one-bedroom apartments.
How long would that be expected, like, a building for demolition?
I think realistically 2 years.
Do you think that there'll be enough space for them to be moved within Rondout Gardens?
We will give them an option, we have Wiltwick, we have Brigham, we have the Addition, and we have Colonial Gardens, and we have Van Dyke. So I'm anticipating that maybe it'll be 10 to 16 house residents that we will have to find, that we will have to relocate for a period. Yes.
Just the one thing I would add to that is that, like we set up a resident advisory committee for Van Dyke. We've started doing the same thing. We've had several meetings with the Rondout residents. And, the feedback that we've been getting is some of those households that are living in those studio apartments, that's a tight fit. They're looking forward to a better opportunity. And almost all of them would like to stay someplace at Rondout if they could, but they understand that from the discussions we've had that, we'll work with them and we'll make payments and we'll help it, but, we have to find the units.
Do they still, you were talking about the resident advisory, like, do they still have the resident advisory, the RAB under what used to be section 9? Do they still get that form, like to keep that form, that structure?
So we created a new group where anybody is invited, anybody who lives at Rondout can come to the meetings. And we're doing the same thing. We will do minutes of the meetings and meet on a regular basis. So it's outside of what you're talking about. It's more focused on specifically what's going to be happening.
Okay, but does the RAB get to stay in place with the
It-
conversion?
Let me say, that the housing authority in the past have attempted to get residents to organize, but there was little or no interest. So
But there are two elected
there are,
residents.
there are two elected residents on the Board of Commissioners and I think 3 of the Board of Commissioners are tenants of the housing authority.
Other questions?
I just have one more,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Yeah, so this is,
That's what they're here for.
so if only, what, 6 families you're saying, or, not qualifying, or?
5 households.
Five households not qualifying, so that puts pretty much like most of the residents at 50% AMI or lower. Like I know we had a number for, Van Dyke Apartments.
It's actually 80% or lower to qualify for the PBVs under like the section 22 conversion.
Okay, so do we have will you have a number of how many residents currently are falling within each AMI as you set up the structure for the
We
going to
should,
the state?
yeah.
We can get that.
Other questions?
No, thanks.
All right then.
So can I just finally, in the recent political season, there has been a lot of misunderstanding about issues with regard to the housing authority and I would just like to share with you a response to some of the issues and some of the questions and some of the assumptions that were made. We just attempted to respectfully just share our understanding to clarify.
Yeah, well, he was standing out, just I'll add one thing. The recent meeting we had at Rondout, we had scheduled a resident meeting.
Thank you.
And the day before the meeting, something appeared in Facebook saying that the housing authority wanted to convert Rondout to cooperatives. And, that type of information just gets out there, people hear it from somebody. And so it was great, it just happened, we were right before that meeting, so we were able to meet with the residents and explain to them it's not what the plan is. It's going to be kept as affordable housing. I don't even think that is in one of the responses that you have there, but there's going to be, as there often are, rumors and things of that nature. If any of the members have questions, feel free to reach out to Benjamin and we'll provide the information. And certainly we're doing that with the residents, so that the residents know what's really happening.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
everybody.
Thank you. The next item will be the TransArt plan. Are you going to present, Maggie?
I guess
This is Ruth Ann on here. Well, come on up to the table then, if you'd like.
Hi, I am
Oh,
on
yeah.
Zoom.
It's virtual, Ruth Ann.
Yes.
That's better than no Ruth Ann.
Hello, everyone. I submitted a request for a supporting resolution on behalf of TransArt for their National Endowment for the Arts application for the Pinkster Festival. And I asked Maggie to attend. She's a representative of TransArt, and she will take it from here just to describe the program and answer any questions you may have.
Okay, so good evening. Thank you for having us. TransArt, let's see, I'll start with Pinkster. Pinkster is the oldest celebration of African Americans in the United States. Began right here in these, in this region during the 1600s. because the Dutch were, who were a very religious people, during Pentecost, which is Pinkster in Dutch, they freed their enslaved Africans for the period of Pentecost, which was essentially a week. And so during that time, Africans had complete agency. And it's sort of the one time of the year that they could see their families and they got together and they celebrated. And it's one of the reasons it's been credited with being one of the reasons that New York State was one of the first states to abolish slavery. Because it brought people together. So we have been recreating that spirit. So it's Pinkster, joy is an act of resistance. Joy being the overriding experience. So the Africans began to dance and really celebrate. It was particularly, it was also the time when having their own agency, they were able to sell their wares, the things that they made, the crops that they grew, and many a slave purchased their own manumission through the money that they made at Pinkster. So we have recreated Pinkster in a 21st century model to celebrate the African roots and 400 years of joint history. We all are here in this community together for 400 years, and we're celebrating that. And this was our second one this year in May. And we had films, and people come, and then the mayor actually came by and was there for a period of time. And I think it's particularly proud of this event being something that is indigenous to this community. I mean, literally, it began here and is the kind of thing that portrays and sets Kingston up as the community that it is, where people live and work together and have the opportunities to share with one another and honor one another's history without taking away we celebrate one, and that does nothing to take away from anyone else. And it's a rare form of the celebration of history. We don't have a lot of things that celebrate history, particularly African American history in this country, and so it is that opportunity. The NEA requires for the Our Town grant that we have a partner, and sorry, I forgot to bring my water. So that we have a partner, so we're asking that you be one of our partners. That the city of Kingston, where most of the celebration occurs and where we are based, turns out we're that building that is finally going to open in a couple of weeks on the corner of Henry and Furnace, yay! We're really looking forward to being a place that attracts people to Kingston, this being our home and all of your home, this being a place and a really special community. And we have art galleries on the first floor. Our offices are on the second, and the third floor is our archives, and we have a discography for jazz, because that's part of what we celebrate. And we're looking forward to many more events coming forward. So we're asking that you be our partner in the celebration of Pinkster, and yeah.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Yeah, I'm sorry that I didn't get to attend this year, but I saw that it was, all over the city, and it looked very celebratory and great. And I love that saying joy is an act of resistance. So, well, that's good.
Great.
I think you have to get a little more excited about this.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, if no other questions, then this is in fact something that we're voting on, even though it's in a sense of pass-through, because like Maggie said, it's just us being a partner, so it has no financial impact on the city finances. So, do I have a motion? Michael Olivieri, second. by Bob Tennyson. Any discussion? Then in that case, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Anyone opposed? You win.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Ruth.
Thank you all.
Thank you, man. And look out behind you.
Why?
The power of
That tower of books.
Oh.
Up on the East Coast.
Yeah,
That will
we
never pass.
we like books at our house. Okay, thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
And thanks, Maggie.
Yeah. Oops. I bought new knees this year, so still breaking them in.
new knee smell.
Really, is that the verb you want to use?
But,
Breaking them in?
yes. Oh. Actually, that's probably not the,
He's from North Carolina.
getting used to them.
All right, the next item is a budget transfer request from Amanda Bruck. These numbers are just outrageous. So it's one transfer, $130 to pay for shredding of client files pertaining to their personal identity, financial information. We want that stuff. How are we gonna do blackmail without that? And then the other is for $60 to pay for Amy Peterson's notary public renewal as per Mayor Noble. You vouch for Amy?
I vouch for and her willingness to provide the public with notary service and us in the building. So,
All right, then, any questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to discuss?
Okay.
Michael Olivieri, second by Michelle Hirsch. Any discussion? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Oops, so let me read it. Description, this request is to cover the cost of two separate expenses. Transfer $138. One, transfer two, $60 to pay legal shred to destroy various files spanning 50+ years. The majority of files having client's personal financial information. And second, at the direction of the COK OCD, will pay, sorry. OCD is, there's another, okay. The City of Kingston OCD will pay for Amy Peterson's notary renewal, and financial impact is zero. I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. Go. All right. Thank you, sir. Then we move to a budget transfer request from Chief Tinty. These are for some retirements.
Yeah, this is just a standard budget transfer. I had asked the chief to submit. If you recall, we do not budget for the retirement accumulations in the individual departments line. We keep the money in the contingency and as it's needed, we transfer to the individual department to cover those payouts.
Contingency being different from fund balance.
Correct. Contingency being an annual budgetary account that theoretically would roll into the fund balance at the end of the year if there were unspent funds.
Now, so is the total actually 39,000 here?
The total's $39,000. The budgetary impact is $39,000 as well. There's the detail of the transfer, I think, on the third page.
Yeah, for some reason it didn't get transferred onto the committee report.
Yeah, the financial impact should be $39,000.
All right, so the committee report now reads, Department of Police, description, budget transfer for the 2023 budget. This is a request for a budget transfer out of contingency to cover the recent retirement of Lieutenant Ernie Osterhout and the resignations of Officer Garrett Lamp, Officer William Hazard, and Detective Brian Schumann. This also includes a transfer to cover unforeseen costs associated with candidate processing, $39,000 to be drawn from contingency. Estimated budget impact is $39,000. Are there any questions for John before we move on? Okay, then motion to discuss.
Motion, second.
Michelle Hirsch, second by Steve Shabbat. Y'all are spreading it around. Very nice.
Gotta be quick, Bob.
Okay, I don't feel left out, sorry. All right, if there is no.
I just want to say that, I'm sorry to see, Lieutenant Osterhout go, that retired, he was a really sweet guy around here. He was at a lot of our meetings. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone who's leaving for their service.
Yes, I think we do need to have a new rule though, that anybody who resigns or retires, they have to find a replacement for themselves. Take some years off before it's predicted lifespan at this point. All right, then, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It passes unanimously. We move on to the next item.
Thank you.
Oh, there
Thank you.
Yeah, we're done with you.
I figured John did all the talking. You didn't need me.
No, we want to make sure you pass on our appreciation to the 4 men who are leaving.
I certainly will. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jed. All right, Keith Ray. You want to join us?
Yeah. You guys are good?
All right, so this is for how many retirements? 2 retirements?
Yes,
2 employees who are retiring?
yes.
All right. So it looks like a long time service for both.
Yes.
Firefighters, or they hire?
One's deputy was a deputy chief and was a firefighter.
And then what's going to do to your total number here? Total number of personnel in the department? I mean,
No, we're 100%.
you're 100% okay. Yeah, well, he was. They had this fight in public safety, so.
Yep, I remember.
All right. Okay, so if there's nothing else, any questions for Chief Ray? All right,
Thank them
then.
for their service.
Yeah, same thing. Good.
Absolutely.
They don't get to play with the new fire engine.
Motion to discuss then? Second,
Second.
There you go. He raised his hand.
Oh.
Said it.
I'm choosing Michelle. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Anyone opposed? So the description is transfer funds from contingency to retirement accumulation to retirements. The total budget impact estimated at $62,652.88. Very good. And then we got another one from FIA. Great pop song named after your department. I guess there's only a band named after KPD, but anyway, go ahead.
This is for the mental health program.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're doing is we're just transferring from the grant that we received into the line items that we pay out. The 2 line items that we really pay out are service contracts. That's for the clinician, the ride stand. And salaries is the part of our EMT that drives the ambulance.
And so this is all money that's already there, so the estimated financial impact is 0? Yes.
Yeah, there will be additional transfer
Oh, yeah.
later in the year.
This is on for, February to May.
Okay. Any questions for the chief on this? Next, motion to discuss.
Second.
Oh, Steve has his hand up. I gotta be vigilant here. All right, any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, so it reads transfer from A 13410.4589 to the following service contracts and salaries. And the estimated financial impact is 0. Thank you. And everything's going well with that new program? We had y'all in here a little while back.
Yeah, I think it's going very well, very well.
How, are they getting calls every single day, do you
Yes.
think?
Yeah, we get calls every day, and then they go out for follow-up calls. And, they're out and about. The last figures were, out of all the calls generated for mental health requests, were June 1st and June 23rd. You know, we handle every call by 9. So, then you get utilized more and more. Be both proactive and reactive.
So it sounds like the word is getting out too then?
The word is getting out and working very well with KPD. You know, the system is working the way that we hoped it to work.
And then are you doing anything to actually publicize the program, or is it just more?
Now, the program does go out, they met with met with People's Place.
Yeah.
Talked to them, they plan on meeting with Family Woodstock and any other agency that want to have them come and provide. Yeah, this is informational.
Yeah.
Type of talk with them, so that we're looking for communities that recognize and have interactions with them prior to them getting called and getting 911 call on them. So that's what they're trying to do, is be proactive. And then obviously the 911 call, then they react. That's worked very well.
Fantastic, glad to hear it. Thanks for making it happen.
Thank you for your support.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we're now moving on to the next item, which is authorizing spending for the design of a passageway across the CSX crossing. Near the Boys and Girls Club, line, all that. And I see that Stu Myers is joining us as well. Hello, Steve, welcome.
Thank you, everybody, for giving us an opportunity to spend a few minutes talking about this, and thank you to Stu Myers. He's our chief volunteer working on this project. And so just to give everyone a little bit of background, we may have chatted with you informally about this project or formally over the last couple of years, but Stu and I have been working to raise awareness about how critical of a juncture being able to that we have in Midtown, especially the area behind the YMCA, and the number of people who are using the Y Farm project, as well as those that are also using the Boys and Girls Club, and of course the exciting work that's happening at the Metro along the Empire State Trail that runs right through that corridor. And so through that work, we identified a need of being able to reduce the number of pedestrians that are illegally crossing the tracks. And Stu has met out there with all of the nonprofit leaders that we just talked about and CSX, and literally watched people walking across the tracks and hopping fences, peeling back fences. And we recognize that, and CSX recognizes that one, that's obviously trespassing on CSX property. And that's something that they're very concerned about. But the biggest priority for all of us is just the safety of crossing there. And it's very unsafe. It is on a turn on the CSX tracks. There are, as we mentioned in the letter, over 40 trains a day that come through Kingston. Some of them at much higher speeds than others. Some of them are slow moving, as we all know, as we get stuck at different crossings, but others are going very quickly through the city. And unfortunately, we have had incidents of death along that corridor. And so, we really feel as though, having a pedestrian crossing between, Greenville Avenue and to the area behind the YMCA would really help mitigate and allow us to channel and funnel folks to the appropriate crossing mechanism. And, through Stu's hard work, we were able to identify a funding source. And so we were able to receive a $270,000 grant from the Novo Foundation to be able to begin the early stages of this work by having design and engineering done to be able to work, working within the CSX rail corridor is extremely complicated. There's literally an entire manual that you need to learn. And so we want to be able to bring in a design firm that knows how to work with CSX, to work within the rail corridor, and then to be able to work with the community to design and identify the ideal location, the shape and size of this crossing, how and where it will end up, and do the environmental reviews associated with that. And so we feel that, for the first phase of this project, this $270,000 is enough to be able to do that legwork, so that we then have an actual plan to be able to then look for additional funds to actually build the structure. And that will again take all of our partners, and Stu could talk a little bit about who we've already worked with and met with and talked to. Just so I don't know, Stu, if you want to take over.
Sure. Anybody who will listen. But no, we've talked with the local, a lot with the Boys and Girls Club, a lot of community leaders around as far as the importance of having the bridge there, for safety, but also sort of joining the communities together there as well. I stood there several times and watched tons of kids, especially from the high school, just walks right over the tracks when they go to school. And I kind of get it; it's quicker going that way. But we all, the folks that I have spoken to all really felt that it would be kind of important to have a crossing there, both for safety as well as, kind of bridging the communities together as well, depending on which side of the tracks you're on. So that's pretty much this kind of started actually about a year and 2 years ago, as far as the investigation.
Do we have a map of like a general area of where
Yes.
the idea is?
I don't have it with me. There's been a lot of work already done actually with this as far as landowners, in the area. And we've talked to CSX, several times. The property that, well, we need to find out where the crossing will be. And that would depend. There are several owners of land on the east side of the tracks. So depending on where the bridge is placed, which my guess that would most likely be in an area on the Greenville side where the train bends to the left and it's sort of like a triangle there.
Yeah.
It was currently where we have most of our contractors are doing all their staging work for some of our midtown projects. It's kind of the widest part of that right of way. It's right before you get to the houses. But it's, it is a, close to Hilton Place and South Sussex.
And close to the Boys and Girls Club, which would be great.
Right.
Sorry? Oh. Yeah. Yes. So let's see, we're looking. Oh, yeah. So this is this triangle, this area. So it probably would be somewhere in this area.
And that's one of the things why we need the, kind of the design work done, because we need to be able to identify, where it can sit to be able to meet the ADA requirements of being able to go over or under, to be able to make sure that it, can fit in the corridor. And so we need someone to help us tell us that.
I did the math.
Yeah.
Would CSX pay for anything, or are they just completely hands off when it comes to these? They seem, yeah, right, I know. It's a really stupid question, I know.
There are a variety of grant sources that are available when working in the federal railroad right of way that we can have access to. CSX does have like a private foundation type thing that they can use small grants, but generally it would allow us access to certain federal railway dollars, but we will have to basically have all the sources. We can talk to state level officials, and it will have to be multiple parties involved.
Steve Chabot?
Yeah, just a couple of comments. And I was gonna say full disclosure, but I'm not gonna disclose how long ago this was. But we used to cross these tracks when I was a kid going home from the Saturday matinee, walking back downtown. I just can't, it's never even entered my mind that you could possibly prevent people from walking at such a large expanse. So you got your work cut out for you, I'm sure. I mean, it's a great idea. I mean, my mind is just spinning here trying to figure out how this can be accomplished, because this is a large area.
It's part of a larger, like our project is, we're trying to connect Midtown together, but right now Ulster County through their transportation council is doing a full City of Kingston rail safety study. And so they're actually looking at all of our crossings, all of where people are walking along the tracks. And so that is a part of their efforts too, is that how do we reduce the number of people who are in that corridor? And one of the projects that we're working on already with Flatbush Avenue and Foxhall Avenue, we're looking at rail safety at those intersections as well, as part of the Foxhall Flatbush Complete Streets project. And so between that work and the work that the county is doing and this potentially, immediate, safety area that we could create, but it's a huge problem. And, we have one of in the corridor within the city boundaries, we've had multiple accidents.
Yeah.
And it just, for a small city, we have a relatively high mortality rate for.
Yeah. Human nature being what it is, there's that little element of excitement. When we were kids, it would have been just as easy for us to go down and roll away to one of the underpass, but crossing the tracks was much more exciting. So, how are you going to take that out of the kids?
Thank God they invented video games.
Yeah, going through the tunnels and all those kind of things, Kids like that kind of excitement, so.
Yeah.
That's all, I'm just gonna say again, you got your work cut out for you here. This is gonna be a very interesting project.
I actually propose that we move the tracks somewhere else, but.
Like that.
But part of it too is, kids particularly are going to take whatever the easiest way is, okay? So whatever's there, so that they're part of the consideration might be to have to build a berm or something to prevent people from crossing.
Right.
Because kids are kids and they may say, oh, I'm not gonna, cross the bridge up it is.
Kids don't think of stuff like that.
But there's, it's just an engineering problem, really.
Well, sounds exciting.
I'm glad you said you're being non-specific in the crossing type, because it may very well not be a bridge. Bridges have their problems, pedestrian bridges have their problems, so do tunnels.
Yeah.
But it's good to marry it with the quiet zone study, which the county's doing, which is going to require securing the right of way, which is going to be a big cost. And that's how you get them to the crossing. But, and how have you found CSX?
Be careful, we're looking forward to working with them.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well,
video.
They may be more receptive than, as time goes on, than they have been historically.
Once you get them to the table,
right,
they've,
which Stu has.
And they don't want.
Yeah, it's taken some effort to get them there, but actually since then they've been okay to to work.
Sorry, and the Department of Transportation, as you know, the State Department of Transportation has a rail safety unit, which has some money, not a lot, but they might be helpful.
Okay.
So, okay.
Michael?
Not necessarily a question, but just, I know we're in the beginning stages of this, but keep in mind, you know, the maintenance that DPW would probably have to do to make sure that it's there, having the proper equipment that would be necessary to keep that area clean and, you know, safe, maybe possibility of cameras, et cetera. Just other things to.
Yeah, that was part of the discussion too, but yes, it's a good point.
Any other questions? All right, then the motion to discuss. Oh. Michael Riera, second by Michelle Hirsch. Any discussion?
Can I just make a suggestion, just add a small language tweak? After the word funding, authorized funding, can we just add in an established capital project?
So as, after funding.
Authorized funding, established capital project for the design and engineering, say for road crossing.
Sorry, was that and?
And establish a capital project.
And establish a capital.
Thank you.
Bob?
I have another question. I'm assuming that you're going to go through a qualifications-based selection process to get your engineering consultant.
Yep, and we hope to, you know, we're gonna put the RFP together this summer, and we hope to get it out, and hopefully we'll get lots of RFPs back. So the city will be managing this project, you know, but we're hopeful, you know, we'll get some good engineering firms interested.
Oh,
I'm sure you will.
Yeah.
And as you know, keeping it at QBS preserves your ability to get grants and other sources.
John, I'm assuming this is a $0 financial impact.
Yeah, we actually already have the money in our account.
Okay.
So we already got the check.
Yeah. All right, let's spend it. All right, so the report now reads, from the mayor, that's the aye. And respectfully requesting that common council authorize funding and establish a capital project for the design and engineering of a safe railroad crossing in the vicinity of the YMCA and the Boys and Girls Club. This project is being funded by a $270,000 Novo Foundation grant to begin the process of evaluating a connection between Greenfield Avenue to the area behind the YMCA. All right, any discussion then? No discussion?
I just
during-
want to say thank you for taking this on. It's really important.
Sure, my pleasure.
All right, then, in that case, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Then it passes unanimously.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. We'll be starting, Bartek, you want to come on up to the table?
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Right, we put the time in on Bartek? What's that? Are we putting the time on? Like time on me? You can if you want. I'm fast. Elisa, if I could, if you're there, if I could. Quan, if I could have my screen sharing privileges, please.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Thank you.
Okay, I think you should be all set.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so I was before you in May, giving you a preview, Bob, you weren't here, but I gave the council a preview of some fee schedule changes that I was requesting as part of the form-based code zoning adoption, having to do with short-term rental registration violation fees, and then also violation fees for affordable housing standards, also payment in lieu of affordable housing contribution fees. So I did receive some feedback back in May on two specific aspects, one of which was that our short-term rental registration rate wasn't high enough. In May, it was 500. I've increased it here to 650. I did communicate with other departments about their feedback on this fee. I also did some research on other jurisdictions in our area
and what their registration fees are for short-term rentals to make sure that we were generally in line. Most of the registration fees are actually quite low. Around 100 to 250. And so even with 650, we're a little bit of an outlier, but I do feel comfortable that that is a good amount. It's a pretty much a six-fold increase from what we're currently charging. So I think it's a good starting point. The other piece of feedback received in May is that for the short-term rental violation fees, it should be not only for a per day rented, but also per day advertised. And so you'll see that reflected in these changes. Happy to answer any questions. Yes.
I still think that 650, regardless of what other communities are charging, it's sixfold over, but it's it could potentially be full-time, right, 12 months. So I feel like it should be 12-fold, so $1,500, so. Right, so you have someone that can rent their home up to 30 days, and then you have someone who can rent for a full year, so. That's all I'm gonna say.
What are we compared, what are we compared to other municipalities of similar size, even in, let's take different areas outside of?
Yeah, I'm just looking at, so Saugerties is 250. Great Barrington is 200. Lake George is 50. Buffalo, New York is 250. Catskill is one of the higher ones, 500. Hudson is 125. Wow. Even in New York City, their short-term rentals rules are a little bit more complicated, but it appeared to only be 145 for registration. So, with 650, we're one of the higher ones in the region. Part of the reason for putting this in the fee schedule also was that it would be reviewed on an annual basis. So, I think it should be increased on an annual basis. But I think this is a starting point for us.
And what was the feedback? Because you said you brought it up to other departments. What were their feedback?
They were comfortable with this.
Yeah.
Steve? Yeah, perhaps we've discussed this in the past, but what's the penalty for not paying a fee and just moving?
So first instance is 1,000, second instance is 5,000, third instance is 7,500, and that's per instance.
And who's gonna monitor this?
That's collaboration between me, my department, and building safety department.
Okay.
And we do have a software that is in the final stages of being set up to help with compliance.
So your department would be setting up software to track advertisements and things like that, and building safety would be in charge of physical.
Of the actual fee structure, that's right, of actually charging the fees.
Good.
But then at some point, so say there's unregistered, non-conforming, out of transect use that does not shut down. I mean, wouldn't that then eventually have to go to court or, become our higher?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
So that's why we need these robust fees to sort of fuel that engine and enforcement.
Oh, I mean, $5,000 for a second offense is gonna hurt. And again, that's per day advertised. So it could get substantially heavy.
Yeah, and that's the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't the fees be assessed to the tax bill?
Well, we could go. They don't pay them.
Right, they're not gonna pay, but, so you assess the tax bill. But, yeah,
They're not paying.
So there's still some discussion about the 650. Michelle has proposed higher end, if I heard correctly. Is that right, Michelle?
Correct.
What do you-
Just thinking, we're saying or just taking out other communities, we're in a housing crisis, we're actually over the 1% that we're going to allow. If 30 days costs someone 125, up to 30 days.
This might be impossible to answer at this point, but if we're limiting the total number of short-term rentals, I guess you couldn't figure out at this point what a likely percentage of each would be, so we could have some rough idea of what kind of income we're talking about from this fee schedule?
Well, the short-term rental full are capped at 1% of the city's housing stock, which is about 100 short-term rentals, so do the math. The short-term rental limited and short-term rental resident occupied. So the limited refers to someone renting out the house for less than 30 days out of the year. And the resident occupied refers to a room being rented out in someone's house while the resident's there. You know, I think looking at the short-term rental listings right now, the amount of rooms is quite small relative to the number of short-term rentals. And the short-term rental limited, I'm not sure, again, it takes a lot of effort to list a home on Airbnb. And so is it worth the effort for less than 30 days out of the year? For some, but it's probably not going to be a large uptake. And so I don't think the income from these other two categories is going to be that
great. I think I'm good with the amount. Again, I know, I definitely see where you're going on it, but as Bartek mentioned, I look at this as a starting point. And then like, next year we're getting hammered with them, let's increase it again. You know, like it was up for, you said, you know, we can change it yearly if need be.
Right, these are the annual numbers. So.
Yeah. So if it's.
We have a pretty quick leash. That's pretty good.
I mean, we are hammered, we have to actually unhammer.
Yeah.
So.
When, Bartek, when would the billing start with these?
Well, as soon as the code passes.
Okay, so potentially,
potentially.
What would the time period be though? Be for a year, for whenever, like effective? It wouldn't necessarily just be a calendar year.
Oh, so like when a property owner has to pay these?
Yeah.
So, right, there's a pool of short-term rentals that are registered on the current laws. So they would have to pay this fee when they renew.
Okay.
And then the new registrants would renew on an annual basis.
Based on when they register, right? So it would be a rolling.
Exactly. So if I register on September 1st, I have to pay that fee again September 1st, 2020.
So where I'm going is you have the opportunity is the fee schedule will be coming up in January or monetary process, right? So between now and then to look at it as well.
So it'd be less than.
Yeah. Not even 6 months.
Jeez. Does that satisfy you? No.
For now.
I'm taking that for okay. Other else? Opinion?
I'll go with Bartek's recommendation to start. I think that's a prudent place to be.
Okay, Steve?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, we can change it. I mean, but this is a good starting point.
Thank you for taking our comments into consideration, so thank you.
Good, okay, and everybody okay with the other numbers there?
So I should mention I didn't receive specific feedback on these numbers. I presented them. In the earlier drafts, these fees were in the zoning code and they were lower. Per a recommendation from Corp Council, her recommendation was to take them out and increase them, which is what I did. So again, here you would have the opportunity to review and update them annually.
And the monies from this would go into the fund that we've already established, right?
That's right.
And then that money could be used for a whole variety of important things, like potentially helping people who are about to be kicked out of their housing. Yes, okay. But also to clarify, I don't know who all has been involved in discussions, just to clarify. The other thing is that the PILOA would not be automatic. The developer doesn't have the choice. The developer has to make a very clear case to the Common Council for this particular option.
That's correct. That's right. And you have not yet adopted standards by which to accept a payment. I presented a draft, but you haven't actually passed it.
Right. Yep. All right, so any questions about any of that? Thank you. All right, then in that case, a motion to discuss? Motion. Steve
Second, that one in.
Second. Michael Vieri is seconded. Any discussion? Sort of already had discussion. The report reads, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, making changes to the 2023 fee schedule as attached. So note when I pass this around, there's going to be a couple of sheets with it, so please keep them together. All right, so any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? So that's 4 in favor, 1 opposed, that being Michelle Bush. Thank you for that one, Bartek. Now we're moving on to the surplus property sales to the Kingston City Land Bank.
Yes, so earlier this year, this council passed a disposition policy by which the city disposes of surplus property. Immediately thereafter, the city sent a letter offering 17 properties to the Kingston City Land Bank that they were eligible to receive, basically. They rejected 10 of those and accepted 7 of those. 2 of those properties have structures on them, 28 Avenue, 177 Murray. The other 5 are vacant lots. And so I'm asking the common council to approve these transfers of the 7 properties. The detail on this one, though, is under the disposition policy, the land bank has 90 days to take title to a property following common council approval. I am asking that that timeline be waived for these 7. This is because of a recent Supreme Court ruling that impacts the process by which a municipality disposes of newer properties. That's the slight detail there. So if we wanted to get into detail on that, we would have to get into attorney-client session.
We have had some discussion of that case before. So, but if anybody wants to discuss it, please say so, because we can certainly go into attorney-client session to deepen our understanding. If deepening it needs to be deepened. Deepening. Nope. I'm sorry. What
I'm good.
Oh, you're good. Okay. All right. No deepening.
And I was going to say, I don't think Barbara wants to chime in. No, I actually was going to call on you because I don't know if certain language should be added to the committee report about when the final sale can happen.
There are multiple ways to deal with that issue. I'm not sure that adding any language to the committee report is ideal, since as opposed to tabling the time.
So that's your recommendation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, it might be a good idea to see.
Okay.
I'm sorry to do what?
Table this.
We can just put it back for next meeting, if that's okay.
Sure.
And all right. Everybody okay with that? Maybe for the next meeting? Would it be okay, can you tell us, give us a sense though, of why the land bank was not interested in the other properties? Is that some of them were?
Yeah, the other 10 parcels are all very strange in their own way. Not really developable, not really able to be developed, or even suitable for any type of green space. And so.
Would be not suitable for green space.
And they're just so small, that an entity like the Kingston Land Trust, right, wouldn't even be interested in that.
Wow, okay.
Um,
So they're too small for putting a tree or a bush on?
Right, basically. And so according to the disposition policy, because the land bank has rejected them, they would go to RFP, request for proposals when we're cities ready.
Okay, all right. So then does this mean that these pieces of property just become the property of the city? I mean, if everything else goes all right? And so then they're non-tax paying little.
Yeah, they could. I mean, we have already done an internal review of all the surplus properties to see which ones would be useful for the city. And those 10 that the land bank rejected were not on that list as being useful in any way to the city.
So what happens to them?
We will put them out for request for proposals process.
Okay.
And see if there's anyone interested. If we don't receive a qualified response, then it would go to auction.
So potentially an adjacent landowner might be interested in purchasing it.
Yeah. But all this is a little bit on hold again because of
Sure.
the Supreme Court decision, but in an ideal state, that would be the process, yeah.
Okay, great. So Kwame, are you there?
I'm here.
Good. So if you would note, please, that this particular issue, this is number 10 on our list, surplus property sales. This needs to go to old business for the August Finance Audit Committee meeting.
Okay, it's noted.
Thank you for that. And then while you're here, you want to tell us about waiving the proposal to waive marriage license fees for active military? Thank you, Art.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Right, thank you.
All right, good evening also. Yeah, so this week I had an opportunity to speak with one of the staff up in the Department of Health in New York State, and he was advising me that it's the state's policy that we don't charge active military members when we do a marriage license for them. And their suggestion was that we discuss making a policy for the city that we waive our fee. So of the $40, $22.50 of that goes to the state. The other $17.50 comes to the state, comes to us. $10 for the actual transcript, $7.50 for the processing. So their suggestion is that we waive our fee as well, but make it an official policy.
Okay. Any questions or comment on that?
Clear cut. Thank you.
Okay, John, I just do want to ask, there would be kind of a financial impact, but this is just in essence changing the fee schedule, right?
I mean, the financial impact would be more on the revenue side, but I think it would be minimal. That's not on the expense side. I don't know that
How many active military?
you would have to know approximately how many active military marriage licenses they're doing a year.
Yeah. Okay.
So I mean, I can say in the time that I've been doing these, this week was the first one out of probably about 70 of them that I've done.
Okay. All right, so I'll leave it. All right, thank you for that, Kwame. Motion to discuss. Motion, Mike Olivieri, second. Any discussion?
This is great, and Kwame, thank you for bringing this to our attention. I think they deserve to have this fee waived.
You're welcome and agreed.
All right, it currently reads, no. This is from City Clerk, description to waive the fee of $17.50 for active military purchasing a marriage license at the advice of the New York State Department of Health. Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. Somehow Sue knew. So, wait. You're actually early. We can go to your thing if you want to.
Two.
So, tell us what's up.
Well, this is just the carryover of the June request that I had submitted, It's budget modification for 2023 to modify the staffing in the planning office. One position, which is currently part-time, is the historic preservation administrator. That would be moved to a full-time position. And the second would be to add another assistant planner. And these would be, we framed it at the time to begin at the beginning of September. So when I received the consensus of the committee, I've been working with civil service. And that's in the works now for the assistant planner. The other part-time position is filled, so it would just be that same person being elevated.
All right, any questions for Sue?
The assistant planner is going to be a civil service position?
Yes.
Is there a list?
There is not.
So are you going to fill provisionally or are you going to wait for a list?
Yes, it would be appointed provisionally.
Yeah, you don't have any candidates at this point. Maybe you do.
I do, no. I would like to.
Do you have a committee report?
Yeah, you should, you don't have one?
I do not have one.
I had that from the first time.
We need one. All right, so any other questions for Sue? All right, so the committee reports read, report reads fiscal year 2023 budget modifications to support additional staffing levels in the planning office. See the attached breakdown of costs requested. The bottom line for us is the estimated financial impact would be $48,946 from contingency. It's a winner. All right, do you have a motion to discuss? Michael Vieri.
Second.
Michelle Hirsch. Mike's desire to get home and taking over from his desire to share. All right, any discussion? Oh, Bob.
Not that it's going to impact my vote in any way, but is this still contingent upon the new code going into
Yes.
effect? Okay.
Yeah, that was the reason for it, obviously, but I wanted to be able to get the process started if you were supportive of it, so that we're kind of a little ramped up in advance.
And my question is just, is my assumption that the incumbent in your existing position is okay to be elevated to full-time?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Check that out.
Oh, by the way, next Monday. All right, then. I read it. Okay, is there any discussion? Further discussion?
Motion.
No, we got a motion.
Oh, yeah.
Or
Oh, yeah.
do we have a question? All right, so hearing no discussion, then I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimous.
Okay.
Thank you, Sue.
Thanks, Sue.
Thanks for looking after the future.
Copy
for us.
ready and out, they're gonna be distributed next week, so if you want to pick some up, just stop by the office.
Okay.
We got them. I think see you next Tuesday.
Been walking. It's been very hot.
What?
It's been very hot.
Good night, Sue.
Thank you.
All right, the next item has to do with request for $10,000 from contingency to the city clerk's budget to cover unforeseen expenses in plumbing repairs at City Hall, which we may not really want to know the details of.
I saw Lisa's office.
Do we need to know anything more about this, or are you already discussed?
So yeah, I think with this is there's just been a lot of emergent situations that have popped up, and just with what's going on, it's kind of it's pretty much assumed that we're gonna have more situations coming in the future, in the near future, that would need to be addressed before we can get to the project that's on the board for 2024.
Gotcha. We're good with it. Do we have a second to discuss?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Or does anybody want to get in there and fix it themselves? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Approving $10,000 from contingency after the flooding. And then the next item was also from the clerk's office. This is budget transfer, zero financial impact. This is to reconcile accounts, moving $5,347.31 within city clerk's budget, so it has zero financial impact. Do a motion to discuss.
Motion.
Michael Lavieri, second. John Tui.
I just want to make sure, there is a financial impact to this transfer of 3,407.31.
3,000.
3,407.31. That's just the amount drawn from contingency.
Okay. Okay, so it now reads transfer of $5,347.31 in the city clerk's budget to reconcile accounts with $343,407.31 to be drawn from contingency. Does that read okay?
Yes.
All right. Does anybody want to change their motion or second? He's good. All right. Okay.
I'm sorry, I said all in favor.
No, this is making sure we have to change it a little bit. So
Yeah.
All right, so is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay. Last item then is the budget transfer in the Corporation Council office. Transfer of $6,437.99.
No financial impact. I worked with Janet on this. Just moving monies between three different accounts.
Okay.
Just to reconcile on a year-to-day basis.
All right, motion discussed. Michael Rieri, motion, second by Steve Shabbat. Really read, it says in Corporation Council office transfer of $6,437.09 for shortfall. Since we're within that budget, it's $0 financial impact. All right, any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Ron Dory, Andrea watching?
No, I messaged her because I saw that we had her on there and she sent an email to all of us.
Yeah.
And she said, no, it's supposed to be on the.
Well, I was gonna wish her well.
Well, she is.
Oh, well, Andrea, we wish you well.
Yeah, feel better.
And hope that you don't have to go back to the place you went last night. Anybody who's mystified by that, look at your email. All right. So comment that the last thing is the parking inventory study and under old business. We're also going to move that to old business for next month. Okay.
Okay, noted.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And if there's nothing else, then we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion Barry, second by Steve Shabbat. All in favor? Aye. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of the evening.
Have a good night.
It's the landed property, and nobody wants it, it remains city property. Off the back.
Yeah.
You know, so joiners can